Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi live noding. Today I'm gonna take like a detour or like a revisiting some of the basic concepts. Um, I was recently looking at some of the available tools to create like a generative artwork. You might already know that there is like a processing um, and processing is using like a Java language. They used to use like a Java language, and processing is one of the tools that enable you to create generative artwork. I actually got a lot of inspirations from processing while doing like lots of works inside Blender using tools like animation nodes or Workshop. Processing is really fun and robust. It's a good they call it like a visual language programming. I guess because it's visual because you're drawing sketch using program. That's what processing is. And recently they have like a processing available um, using Python as well. So I recommend you to take a look and play around with processing because it's open source as well, just like Blender. But you're, of course, if you're using Blender, you are like a 3D person. Processing is, even though you can do 3D as well with processing, and you can do a lot more like with input and output, maybe webcam, those sort of stuff. It's a little bit whole different area. However, the idea of creating artwork is similar. And with processing, there's also another tool called Nodebox. And Nodebox has been around since 2004. I haven't really looked at it for a while. And it used to be Nodebox 1 used to be Mac only. And then they have Nodebox 2. And then they have Nodebox OpenGL and Nodebox 3. Nodebox 3 used to be called just Nodebox 2. But it's kind of like a really robust. It's actually Python underneath. And apart from Python scripting, um, it's actually have node-based kind of interface as well. So it's kind of similar way of thinking to do like a node-based workflow inside Blender using animation nodes. I I don't know like how Blender in the future, how it's gonna be like a node-based. Perhaps it will, but I don't know. Like at this moment, with the tools like animation nodes, you have quite a good kind of like good starter or introduction. It will, even with animation nodes at this point, version 1.6, you have lots of power to do a lot of like procedural animations. With Notebox, I think um, you can get a lot of inspiration. Like this one, it generates characters using nodes, and Notebox is mostly vector and 2D, I believe. Slightly different to processing, but they're very similar. And Notebox is using Python, and I just realized today, oh man, Notebox is actually Python. And few years back, maybe 5 6 years ago, when I started to learn programming by myself, I wasn't aware of this, um, and I didn't even touch Notebox 1 because it's so complicated. And I actually play around with Notebox 2 and 3. Now I'm opening Notebox 1. Luckily, it's still actually working on the MacBooks. And there is one example. This is like the basic example. They're showing you how you can create compositions simply by using text and randomize the text in scale and rotations. You probably have seen this. You have seen me doing this inside animation nodes. It's kind of really similar, and you can probably already create this. But if you are still wondering how to create something like this, I will do it today. So with this is Nodebox interface, and you write a script here. It doesn't have any nodes because it's Nodebox 1. With Nodebox 3 you have nodes and stuff. But here the code is written in Python. You provide like list of words. I'm typing Blender Sushi, Live Noding, Fun, AN, Spread Shop, and then the color is these 3 colors, and then this is the loop, just like inside animation nodes. It's a similar kind of concept for every element for number in range 50, so 1 to 50. Do like a 50 times iterations. Generate random X and random Y, and then rotate the world axis 360, and then with the font size randomized between 10 and 100, and also with the field, the text field, the color of the text, just pick from these colors, and then with the text just pick this randomly. And of course the iteration can be increased, and yes, and it keeps generating composition. And then if you want to randomize it, just keep calling the functions over and over. Yeah, I think Notebox 1 is really fun. If you are actually start learning Python, and then you want to kind of be a little bit more creative at some point, do have a look at Notebox. We're gonna do something similar in Blender using animation nodes, and you will see a lot of similarities. Of course, Blender is a 3D environment, and we have this beautiful 3D view, and we start from scratch again. So animation nodes. Start with how should we start? Let's start with the text. That's the text object. I usually start with a single objects. And so the text, we can leave it like that, just text. And inside animation nodes, you actually have lots of nodes that can deal with text objects, because like the Python programming language itself is really robust with the way it works with the text, or they call it like a string type of what do they call it, object, I guess. Yes, so dealing with string or text, you can do a lot of things. And with Blender, you're gonna have to use the with animation nodes, you're gonna use the text object output like this. I'll just show you the basic, I guess. So this is the text object output. The actual word itself doesn't matter. This will change depending on the input that we provided. So like this is saying hello, but if we grab this text objects inside animation nodes and then turn on this text input, we can type anything, like yeah, just any kind of text. And you can use list, create a list of string. Okay, string is actually like a text kind of data. And if we type in like what should we type, maybe like some fruit names, apple, banana, kiwi, orange. Okay, 4 different lists, and if you plug in the list, and we get, and if you play with the index, of course the index is looking into the list, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, which means we have data with index 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's a list type of data, kind of like that. Okay, words. The list can grow, and you can get rid of the list. and it's quite dynamic. So what's next? Color, we don't deal with color yet. We just maybe we start randomizing the text. Okay, here we know we're gonna create like a duplicates object, so we're gonna use object instancer. And what's next? Maybe we generate like 10 for now. For this, you might start with you assign with the object instancer. You can assign some type of objects. For now, we just specify it's gonna be a text object. So now we're gonna loop over the objects. So loop through objects. Here we go, and let's plug in the object over there. Now we actually have, I believe we already have like bunch of text inside it, and because they are on top of each other and they are the same text, it says orange. We cannot see it, but we're gonna maybe randomize it using object transform output. All right. Here we're gonna, let's see, just grab the object and then randomize the location. Randomize random vector, because vector is a position in 3D. You don't just randomize the x and y. In Nodebox, they only need x and y because it's 2D. In 3D, you need x, y, z, and that's why you need a vector, and you want to generate random vector depending on how many iterations it's specified. So once again, we're gonna do that. It's really this is actually a really good exercise for students or just beginners in node-based kind of work environment. I'm gonna hide the lamp and the camera. So we get the object instance. We don't see the variations of text yet. We can increase it. Let's get rid of the relationship lines first. Select the object instancer, tap U, and hide relationship lines. And currently the text is all in the using the same font, same size of font. That's okay. We're gonna leave it like that for now. The index here's we have the string list, right? Apple, banana, kiwi, orange, and we can still specify it. Okay, so we're nearly there. What should we do with the index? Perhaps you're thinking, okay, I know, with the index you can plug in the index into the index, right? Try. Okay, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not what we want. We actually want the data to loop over each instance and give it a random text here, text data. How do we do that? Apparently the quick trick is you can use random number, okay? And with random number, so we have like four item in the list here, so we can have like we can use this node, give a random number between 0 and 4, and we plug in the index. And because we do that and it's inside the loop, I can show you what's going on. Let's debug. Let's save this real quick. This is animation nodes string like Nodebox. save it. So generate random text, min and max. Let's have a look. Let's debug loop it. Looks inside the data this thing is outputting. Have a look. See how it's generating. It's kind of floating value, like a decimal number, but animation nodes will be clever enough to kind of convert it into integer. So depending on this number of the index, it's gonna generate the text data. Like it's gonna pick from here. So let's do that. Plug into the index. Okay. See how there's a float to integer conversion. So this is the list. This is a random number. If at some point you're deciding, okay, you want to have more of this fruits list, the max number here must change to reflect the changes. Say you want to have like a durian and have like what else? Fruit name. I'll just put carrot. One, two, three, four, five, six. You can change this to 6. But the quick way is to use the iterations here. Oh, no. Not iterations. We're gonna grab the length of the list. Get list length. Get list length. And then plug into the max. So no matter how many text we have here, if you increase it, strawberry, okay, it will generate the text for you. Cool, so we're almost there. Yeah, and you can increase the number of instances you can have. What else? Randomize the size. Randomize the size is really simple. Random number between 10 and 100. Okay, let's do that. And the scale here is actually XYZ. Random number between 1 and 100. This is so simple and easy. This is the object instancer, blah blah blah. Index, plug in this to the scale. Alright. Okay, the text is so huge. In Blender, maybe 1 meter to 10 meter. It's pretty big. Doesn't matter. Just make it between 0.2, maybe. Yeah, just like that. Next, we can add rotations here if you like, but before I do rotation, let's do the coloring first. With the coloring, normally with objects, what I do, I'm gonna have to create like the master text. This is the master text, and with the master text, if we apply a material, and this is I'm using Blender Render just for simplicity. Let's hide that guy. Okay. This is like a trick. Turn on object color, and then here, instead of specifying the type of object we want to instance, we just copy from source, of course, and the source is of course this text master object, and this text comes with a object color material. Okay, and you want a deep copy on. So with deep copy, as you can tell, deep copy and each text can have random object color, which is this guy. So attribute, object attribute output. So for each object, please make a different color. It's expecting color. Okay, so you can use color list. Choose a color. Not choose color. Please create more color. How many colors do we need? Let's make 4 color. The color you can grab from like a QLR.com or something. Here, if you try to plug it in, I tried many times. It's actually, I was expecting it to create a get list element. Didn't do it automatically, but yep, that works. That works really well. So, and then the next thing we need to do is just to do something like above here. So we have like, we need a random number for the index of the element. So random number, min and max. We know the maximum is 4 color, but if you have like 10 or 100 different color, it's easily become, we cannot tell how many, but we just need to use that list length, get list length, and plug that in, and plug this into the max, and plug in the index into the seed, and plug this into the index. Random color. And random factor, let's just spread it more. This seems to be really too small. That's alright. So that's almost something like this. We could we just need to add rotations. File save as rotation. With rotation, let's have a look. Turn on the rotations for each object or each text. If I rotate with a, just rotate in the Z, we actually need to rotate it in the Z axis, because if we wanted to make it look like this, just in the Z, but as you can see, the pivot is at the beginning of the text. We don't want that. The pivot should be at the center. So with the original text, we just change it to center, align center. So back to this guy, since they're just words, kind of word cloud. Let's reset our instance source data. Okay, now they're all centered. So like I said, with rotations, we only need to rotate the Z-axis. Okay. Perhaps there's a node called random Euler, and it does have random Euler, but we want to just rotate in the Z-axis. If we just plug in the index into the seed now, and then plug this into the rotations, you can have, so the text are rotating in all axes. Maybe that's what you want, but we don't want that. We just want it to rotate in the Z axis. So we can separate Euler. Let's see. Separate Euler. Separate Euler. And then combine euler. Just plug in the Z. Use degree, don't worry about use degree. Plug in the euler. So now, there you go. So we have the text random, and they have different height as well. So it's 3D. You can even make it more 3D if you like. Like with a text object, of course, you can extrude it so it's more 3D. It's kind of it's cool if you're a graphic designer and then you found out you can do this using Blender and you can use it in your work. This is like totally awesome. I wish I have Blender 10-15 years ago, like Blender version 2. What's this version? Blender 2.7, maybe Blender 3.0 node based, using with the animation nodes and Spreadshop. Of course, Spreadshop is good for generating mesh and actually to create like a generative artwork like that, like a complex generative stuff. You might want to use Spreadshop instead of animation nodes. Alright, so no need to worry about extruding. We have this guy happening. With this, the background is white and it has the white text as well, and it looks nice like that. So let's make it like a 2D and view from the top. Now it's kind of 2D, and with the background, this is a trick that if you haven't used Blender too long, lots of settings is Blender has a lot of tricks underneath. Okay, it's things like how to make the background to have that color. So you can turn on world background so it's become white, and you can turn on only renders. And you might wonder, hey, why is the color kind of like dull like this? Because Blender is 3D environment, and what you see is really 3D, and it obeys the lighting. So it obeys the material as well. So if I select that material, turn on shadeless, now the color should be, oops, not that, brighter kind of. And yeah, so we can have like a 3D effects with the color here. We can change it to anything. I'm just gonna save this and then I'm gonna make modifications. Yep, here modifications, change the color. So at the moment we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items. I'll delete one. I'll make one of them white, like pure white. It's still not fully white, and then one of them is red, just like that guy over here. I can turn off Nodebox for now. It's slowing down. Don't save. Back to Nodebox. This red color can be like redder. Yeah, so this is just like what the Nodebox created, but all in 3D environment. You can render it from any angle. And just for we are pretty much done here, but just for final thing, if you're new to 3D environment, if you're a graphic designer and you look at this video and then, hey, I want to render this out, but um, it looks so jagged here, because this is just the preview, okay? If you're not a 3D artist, you need to render this out because and turn it into a pixel. With Nodebox, everything is vector. It's like working inside Adobe Illustrator, but of course this is 3D and you have to render it out, and you can get a more beautiful result that way. You need the camera first. Turn off the world background. Where's my camera? So I'll just frame this thing. View, align view, align active camera to view. Okay, that's our composition. Beautiful composition. And turn off ambient occlusion, it might be slowing down. How many instances do we need? 200. I think with Nodebox you can, with processing is kind of burning the, whenever it draws something on screen, it's kind of burning it into pixel. So you can have like unlimited generated image, because it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. While in Blender, you need to be aware of the number of objects you created. Over 10,000, your computer will slow down. Blender, I think, has a limit on the number of objects it can create. So just really careful. Objects, the number of objects over 100,000 is like too many. If you're creating mesh, like generating mesh, you can have millions, okay, millions of vertices, but not too many objects. What I mean is like a single object with millions or billions of vertices are okay. It's okay, but 100,000 objects, like if you open up the outliner here and then you count the number of objects you have, you don't want it to be more than 100,000. Just too many, okay? Just be aware of it. It's not just because of your computer running out of RAM, but it's just impossible to manage if you have that many objects. You kind of need to trick it using particles or instancing particles. Alright, so yeah, so back to rendering this out. Of course, you can do a lot of things here. You can randomize that, and then with the random vector, you might be able to do more. See, random vector, randomize that thing, randomize the rotation, etc., etc. And if you hit render, this is the default render setting. If you're using Blender for a while, and of course you know what it is, it's rendering out. And the funny thing is the white is not pure white, it's already shadeless. Doesn't matter, this is that's the default render. It's already quite beautiful, and then you can change the resolutions. By default it's 50% of this. You can have high resolution, okay, like 8 megapixel or 16. Big resolution, doesn't matter, it's really totally up to you, as much as your computer can handle. But I'm more interested with you might, if you're not a 3D artist and this is the first time you use Blender and animation nodes to create something like this, be aware of the material. Here's the material, it's important. If you don't make it shadeless, this might be what you want. You can do anything with the materials. And there's a whole lot of Haha, Blender just crashes. Don't worry, I saved it. Reopen it. I always save before I render, and I save quite often. I learned my lessons in the past when Blender sometimes. Do you want to save change the screen